Hey guys, I'm Lauren, and today I'll be reading Chapter 5 of the Geneva Project, Truth, by Christina Benjamin. I hope you enjoy. I awoke with soggy friend-like leaves on my forehead. I was still in the nurse's station rather than the locker, so I took that as a good sign. I successfully propped myself up on my elbows without too much resistance from my head, and surveyed the room. The room was small and mostly that grayish tan color that made up the stone walls of the rest of the center. You could tell Miss Bria tried to make it cheery, though, because there were bright yellow curtains hung on the inside of the barred windows. I watched them billow in the breeze, mesmerized by the way the sunlight caught the checkered pattern. Next to my white linen cloth bed was an old wooden chair, still facing backwards from when Nova was here. There was a simple bedside table next to me as well, containing an oil lamp and a bowl of soaking fenugreek leaves, and a mug of water. I reached for the water and sipped as I looked around the rest of the tiny room. There wasn't much else, just some generic medical posters on the wall and a washbowl. Just then, Miss Bria popped her curly-haired head in. "You're up. Very good. How about some breakfast?" she smiled, as she carried a bowl of porridge and fruit toward me on a teetering tray. I smiled back and let her peel the leaves off my head and prop me up higher so I could sit facing her. She handed me my breakfast and put her hands on her big hips. "Well, you do look much better. These friend-like leaves did the trick. That John 18 is something, isn't he?" "What?" "Never mind. How are you feeling this morning, little Jane?" "Better, I think." "Well, excellent, because if you can finish your breakfast, I'm going to release you." I swallowed as hard, dark thoughts of the locker rushed through my mind. Release me to where? "Well, 18 and I think it's too soon to send you back to lessons and work just yet, but we think you'd be more comfortable in your room. I've already had a cot bed set up for you in your room, so you don't have to share a bed with the other children while you're recovering." "Oh, thank you." What was going on here? I was going back to my room and getting my own bed? That never happened to any of the other orphans I knew about. If what Nova said is true, should surely be in the locker. I thought maybe they were just making sure I was healthy enough to endure the pure torture of sensory deprivation that the locker offers. But never did I think I'd be rewarded with my own bed and getting out of lessons and work. How hard did I hit my head? None of this was making sense. Maybe I woke up in some alternate universe where orphans were treated kindly and there was no such thing as the locker. And why was Nova making decisions about my future? Miss Bria said that she and 18 think that I'm not ready for classes and work. They think I'd be more comfortable in my room. Since when did Nova help staff at the center make decisions? I choked down my porridge so I could get out of the nurse's care as soon as possible, and hopefully get some answers to all my questions. Miss Bria was overly pleased to see that I finished breakfast. She helped me out of bed and even wiped me down with cool water before helping me dress. I normally would have insisted on doing all this on my own, but I was still experiencing dizzy spells that would sneak up on me when I wasn't expecting them. I felt like I was just learning how to use my legs for the first time. I almost knocked over the bathing bucket that Miss Bria was using to wipe the sweat from my bony shoulders. It was hard not to like her. She patiently steadied me each time I swayed, and even hummed pleasantly as she bathed me. I didn't know how to receive such kindness. I just stared at her plump face, hoping she could tell I was grateful. Now that I was clean, dry, and dressed with my freshly laundered uniform, I was actually starting to feel better. More like myself, yet still wary of how well things were going for me. I was waiting for the floor to drop out under my feet at any moment. I couldn't help feeling like I must be dreaming when Miss Bria led me to the 13-year-old's room. It was completely empty, and looked just like I had remembered it, but there was a slim white cot bed under the foggy glass window. "Is that for me?" I questioned. "Of course. Now why don't you rest here until lunch? Then I'll make sure someone from the dining hall brings you a meal," she said with a warm smile. "Okay. Now if you need anything, you come find me, all right?" She turned to walk towards the door, and I had the urge to call her. Her name escaped my lips before I knew why I was calling her. "Miss Bria?" "Yes, dear?" I, thanks." "You're most welcome, dear." Then she was gone. I sat on my new cot bed cross-legged as I tried to make sense of what was happening to me. I gazed toward the sooty window next to me, and then untucked my shirt so I could use the bottom of it to try and clean a spot to see through. It was no use. The smudges and dirt seemed to all be on the outside. I actually preferred the barred windows that were in our classrooms and dining hall better. You could see through them clear enough, and you could always feel the ocean breeze. As I longed for the ocean breeze, I leaned up against the window pane, and it budged. I sat bolt upright and looked around. I was still alone in the room. I turned back to the window and pushed on it again. This time the bottom pane tipped out, and I could see the ground below. I instantly shut it and double-checked that I was alone. So far, the coast was clear. Just as I was turning back to face the windows, I heard his voice. "You really don't know how to stay out of trouble, do you?" I caught my breath for a second before I realized it was Nova. "You scared me. I know what you were doing. Very clever. You figured it out without me even having to tell you." "You know about the window?" "Of course," he smirked. "Who do you think unlocked it?" "Nova, what's going on? You said you'd explain everything to me." He walked towards me smiling. When he sat down, I could smell his sweet, earthly scent. I felt my face heat up again as he put his arm across my shoulders. "You're right. And I will. I have a plan for us, and it involves this window. I've gotten you out of lessons and work for the rest of the week, but we need more time." "For what?" I said impatiently. "This is the part where you listen and I talk, okay?" "Okay," I howled. "Just get on to it already. For the rest of the week, I need you to meet me behind our palm tree in the garden. I can tell you everything there. I don't want to say too much here in case someone is listening." I nodded for him to continue. "At lunch today, meet me out there. I'll knock twice on your door when I'm heading out to the courtyard, okay? Give me a few minutes head start, then meet me out there. Don't tell anyone where you're going. This has to stay between us. Okay?" "Promise?" "I promise, jeez." Nova shook his head at me and then smiled that big, brilliant smile of his. "What?" I prodded. "Nothing. I'll see you in a few," he said as he got up to stride towards the door. I caught him by the hand. "Now it's your turn to listen. I need to know what I did, and why I'm not in the locker. I know I provoked Gemma and she punched me, but you said there's more. I need to know what else happened." Nova grabbed my face in his hands. His green eyes bored into mine, and for a moment I felt like I was going to be swallowed up by them and drowned in that deep green sea swirling beneath his pupils. "Trust me," he said, and he left the room. I sunk back down into bed and felt even more confused than before. Nova had helped me this far. He brought me to the nurse's station and covered for me with his lie about falling off the pile. I guess I had no other choice but to trust him. I didn't have much chance to think about it, though, because a moment later there was a knock at the door. I rushed to it and whispered, "Nova?" "No, sorry to disappoint you. It's just me," said Remy as he pushed past me. "Oh, Remy, I'm so glad to see you." "Yeah, well, I brought your lunch." "Remy, what's going on? Please tell me what happened. Are you okay? What about 42? I didn't get you into trouble, did I?" He just stood there staring at me, holding my tray of food with a bewildered look. At first he looked angry, but then he took a few more steps toward me, holding my gaze the entire time. "I don't remember what happened. I remember her hitting me, and that's it." Remy looked at me like he was deciding whether or not he believed me. He must have sided with me since he put my tray down and sat down on my bed. I joined him. 65, you hit her back, I think. I'm not really sure what happened either. One minute she was punching you in the face, and the next second she was flying backwards." "What do you mean?" "Well, when she hit you, you put your hands up, and she flew backwards. It was like you hit her too, but I was right next to you, 65. I never saw you touch her. You both just fell down, and it was chaos. I was trying to see if you were okay, but I didn't have a chance. Nova swooped in and told everyone what to do." "What did he say?" "He told me and 42 to stay with you, and told everyone else to get back to work so he didn't attract attention and get sent to the locker. Then he ran over to 31, to see if she was okay, I guess." Was she? I asked. Yeah. She sat up and looked really confused. Nova talked to her for a while, and then called over 2 Griffs to make sure she was okay. That's when you made up the story about you falling off the pylon and knocking into 31 on the way down. Then what? Then he told us the story we were going with, and said to keep our mouths shut so we didn't all get into trouble. Then he picked you up and was gone. I sat there, taking it all in. I was so scared, 65. I didn't know where he was taking you, and you were knocked out. You hit your head so hard when you fell. He paused. You're all right, right? Yes, I think so. I just don't understand what happened. Nova says, why do you even talk to him, 65? He's my friend, that's why. Remy rolled his eyes and said, well, this friend has been getting us into an awful lot of trouble, hasn't he? We're not in the locker because of him, so I think he's actually pretty good at getting us out of trouble. Well, I don't like him, he said angrily. He stood up and crossed his arms to face me. Do you know he wouldn't let me see you in Miss Bria's office? He huffed. So I wasn't imagining Remy being in the nurse's office. I flashed back to the conversation I had tried to overhear after Nova and Miss Bria had left the room. Why hadn't they let Remy see me? Maybe he just didn't want Remy to get nervous and screw up the story he made up about me falling off the pile. I would have to make a mental note to ask him about it. I'm sorry, Remy. I thought I saw you, but I was so out of it. I would have wanted to see you if they'd asked me. You know that. You're my best friend. I know, he smiled. I'm sorry. I know I've been rough. You've had a rough few days. How's your head? It's okay. Well, your eye doesn't look that bad, he lied. You're a terrible liar, I laughed. This seemed to put us back at ease. We both laughed at the purple bruise covering half my face. Then we hugged each other. What would I do without Remy? He always made me feel better. Just then, there was another knock on the door, and 42 and another John from our year walked in. Hi, 65, 42 asked timidly. Can we come in? Sure. They looked around as they entered the room slowly, and closed the door softly behind them. 42 looked bird-like as ever, with the sunlight streaming in from the window, dancing across her delicate features. Her piercing amber eyes looked worried as she swiftly crossed the room towards me. Remy and I were still sitting on the new cot bed, so she crouched down in front of me at the foot of the bed, folding her slender legs under her. She stared up at me expectantly. I looked over at the other John who had come with her and noticed he was staring at me too. It was starting to make me uncomfortable. I recognized him instantly from our year, John number 22. He was one of the fittest boys in our year. He looked as solid as the stone walls that built around Lux. His short brown hair and deep amber eyes complemented each other, and I realized I had never looked into his eyes before. I was in the habit of keeping my head down and minding my business. I had deducted that he wasn't one of the Johns that had roughed me up after I beat them in the races through the fields, and he wasn't in the group that always tagged along with Gemma, sneering as she tormented me. Still, I had no idea why he, all of a sudden, was taking an interest in me. This newfound attention made me uneasy, and my cheeks flushed, giving me away. Luckily, 42 piped up. We just wanted to check on you and make sure you were all right. You took quite a fall. She paused and looked from Remy to me and back. I couldn't take the silence, so I finally motioned for 22 to join us. I know I didn't fall, okay? I said. Oh, good. Didn't want you to think we weren't going along with the story. But now that it's out, how did you do that? 42 said. What do you mean? What, Gemma? That's what you call her, right? How did you throw her like that? Yes, Gemma, but we really shouldn't be saying that to her face. You saw what happened, right? I said, pointing to my bruised face. I was trying to lighten the mood, but it just made 42 wince. I'm Journey, said 22, looking serious as he stood over our little group. This was the first time he had spoken since entering the room. He didn't offer any more, just his name. And I'm Sparrow, whispered 42. She had a huge grin on her face. Guys, seriously, I think we should lay off the names. It's just going to get us into trouble, said Remy. She can protect us, said Journey, with such confidence I almost believed him. Except, wait, was he talking about me? What? I said, standing. Sparrow scrambled to her feet as well. 65, that's why we're here. We wanted you to know we were on your side. We're with you, you know? We'll help you, she said breathlessly. I don't know what you mean. There's no sides. I... It's okay, 65. We're like you, she beamed. Just then there was 2 quick knocks at the door. All of our heads spun towards the noise. Remy jumped, and for an instant we all froze. Then I remembered that it was Nova's signal. I ran towards the door, turning back to look at their startled faces before I left the room. I gotta go. We'll talk later, I called over my shoulder. I did a jerky walk jog to the courtyard. I wanted to get there as fast. I needed answers. But each time I would start to run, my head would protest, and I would get funny glances from the griffs I passed. I decided to stop just in time to avoid slamming into a large tar cat as I entered the courtyard. It was Khan. I could tell from his jeweled collar. He was my least favorite because of his extraordinary disposition. He was the largest of all the tar cats at the center, and Greeley's personal favorite. He had paws the size of my head and teeth so sharp and long that he couldn't close his mouth all the way, creating a constant snarl on his face. He narrowed his bright yellow eyes at me and twitched his long whiskers. I took a step back and bowed to him. That's how you must proceed if you don't want to offend a tar cat. They're very temperamental creatures. My heart was pounding as I continued to bow, my mind screaming, walk away, please, walk away, Khan. He shook his snow-white coat and sniffed the air. Something must have caught his attention because he turned away from me, and I had to duck to avoid getting smacked by his black whip-like tail. I breathed a sigh of relief that he hadn't decided to drag me to Greeley's office. Finally, the coast was clean, and I darted to our secret meeting place. Took you long enough, Nova joked. He was leaning against the wall, chewing a blade of palm grass, looking like he didn't have a care in the world. This infuriated me. After my confusing morning, I was determined to get to the bottom of what was going on. I didn't want to play Nova's games. Nova, I need to know exactly what's going on, right now. Ah, she's getting tough, he teased. I'm serious. Remy just told me that I somehow magically threw Gemma without even touching her. And then 42 and 22 confirmed it. And they said they're on my side, whatever the heck that means. Oh, and their names are Sparrow and Journey, in case you're wondering. They just came in offering up their names and help. What's going on? They said they're special, like me. Nova, I don't want to be special. I just want everything to go back to normal. Well, you can forget about that, my dear little Tippy. You're the one we've been waiting for. And your whole life is about to change, he said with a proud smile. Alright, I'll be back soon with the next chapter. Bye, guys.